A brand new whiskey released on today's show from a brand new whiskey startup. This one's important. Let's drink some whiskey. Welcome to Whisky and Whisky. I'm the Whiskey Chaser Brian here in Christy's bar. I hope you're keeping awesome. So within the last week or so, I received a phone call from one of the main lads involved in this particular company asking if I would be interested in receiving a bottle for the show and wondering would I give my thoughts on this. Okay, this is a standard practice. It's starting to happen more and more lately. I'm grateful, I really am. However, where this takes a turn is them asking me for my input. Would I like to get involved a bit more? What would I like to see from the brand moving forward, and how could it be different? I believe they called it open innovation. Interesting. That's all well and good. Whiskey Chaser's suspicions aroused. Let's get involved. So this is the brand new whiskey release from Element Whiskey. They are calling it Fusion Series R1.0. Now, from what I can tell, this new whiskey startup consists of three like-minded friends who wanted to create something different and unique and create a brand that will allow its customers to get more from their whiskey. So basically, you're not being told what to like. Instead, they want their whiskeys to be inspired and developed upon from customers' feedback and ideas, basically. So essentially creating a whiskey that whiskey drinkers have said they wanted. In a nutshell, listening, feedback, good things, I suppose. Now, the first whiskey from the brand is kind of a mixed, versatile whiskey that developed it to be used in cocktails, in mixed drinks, or neat if you so choose. They are marketing this towards the new generation of experimental whiskey consumers who might want a bit more from their brands. Interesting angle, I suppose. As far as I can see from the website, which is obvious as soon as you visit, there has been a serious amount of work and effort put into developing that website. There are 2 more whiskeys on the way, hopefully to be landing in spring of 2023, according to the website. One of these looks like the Lore series, it's what it's called, which is more traditional take on Irish whiskeys. So think super quality single grains, single malts, and single pot stills Irish whiskeys. And then you have the X series, which is more along the lines of innovation alongside other brands. So think kind of whiskey meeting exceptional casks from beers and wine producers from other companies. And we jump back to the Fusion here. This is a blended whiskey made up of 5 different finished Great Northern whiskies. It's a non-age statement, but I have it on good word that the whiskey in this is used are between 3 and 5 years of age, roughly. It is a small batch product of around 3,000 bottles, I believe, and they're bottled at 43% ABV. The cask breakdown is exceptional. You have 5% triple distilled malt finished in virgin American oak, 5% triple distilled malt finished in Oloroso sherry butts, 5% triple distilled malt finished in seasoned stout casks, and then you have 85% made up from 2 single grains that were matured in first fill ex-bourbon casks. There's a lot going on here in terms of blends. Speaking of blends, this whiskey was blended in conjunction with Great Northern Distillery and is priced at €49. There is a lot of whiskey in or around that kind of mid-premium price point, all offering something different and unique in their own way. Hopefully this stands out for the lads, as it's nice to see emerging brands tackling the market at, whatever price point in our current climate. I do have to make special note of the whiskey bottle. This is without a doubt one of the coolest whiskey bottles I've ever seen, even down to its very contemporary, very sleek label. Everything about this screams effort. Crazy detail on the bottle and inscribing here. The cork topper isn't like anything I've ever seen. Like I said, the engraving along the bottom of the bottle and the side of the bottle in a number of different places. It's just, I'm a sucker for awesome bottles, and this is the coolest bottle I think I've had on the show. Just from kind of looking at the bottle and the website, there hasn't been any expense spared, and that side of things and the design process, it does scream premium. All that is well and good, but does the whiskey stand up to it? That's why we're here. Let's find out. And we pour. All right, so once again, you're looking at a 43% ABV blended non-age statement whiskey that was blended in Great Northern, utilizing virgin American oak, Oloroso sherry, stout casks, and refill ex-bourbon, malt, and grain. There is a lot happening under the hood of this. €49 your price point. Does it contend? There's a lot in that mid-premium price range. You're going up against a lot of big hitters. I'm gonna give it another minute to breathe and open up a small bit. Let's do some tasting notes. On the nose, a tremendous amount of initial vanilla sweetness. There is, I want to say, an elegant touch of grain and alcohol coming through. For the non-age statement side of things, 3 to 5 year whiskeys in here, it's not as grainy or as alcohol-y as you might think. Still there slightly, but you know, I suppose what makes the difference is this is coming in at 43% ABV, which I do like to see. For me, very, very slight hint of banana peel. And I'm getting that a lot lately in kind of these blends that have a little bit more, we'll say tropical fruits kind of coming through it. Even a very slight pinch of orange peel at the back. You are getting some oaky kind of bourbony notes. There's not a lot of spice in here as well, which, you know, I think that's making it approachable to some. Not bad. Yeah, kind of a little bit of, just if ever, a very slight hint of malt at the end. A little bit on the elegant side. Sláinte. First initial palate tasting, grain subtlety. That's to be expected, all right? There's 85% of grain in its DNA. Little bit of alcohol presence, but not hugely. There's a touch of a chocolatey vibe. There's lots of vanilla. It's, I don't want to say smooth. Creamy, I suppose would be a good word to put it as. Yeah? Take another sip, Sláinte. Yeah. Vanilla, creamy, little touch of chocolate vibe for me, a little bit of grain note there. It's not overly complex. It's a little bit pared down on the simplistic side of things. You know, yeah, vanilla and oak. Vanilla, not so much oak, a little bit of spice. Finish, a little bit on the grainy side. Again, that little bit of a chocolate vibe coming through. There is a nice amount of spice on the finish. There's just the right amount. Think white pepper, but it's not kind of punching your palate. That vanilla cream kind of note is, that's nice. Sláinte. Stand by for my thoughts. So, in my opinion, I think it's a very nice simplistic blend. I don't normally drink blends, that's total transparency there. I generally find the majority of them to be a bit underwhelming. I often say this on the channel, I prefer a bit more robustness. I wouldn't say this is underwhelming, but I would like to see a bit older whiskeys in here, I think, to give it a bit more body and complexity. That's my personal palate. I like a bit more, you know, oomph in my whiskey flavor-wise, robustness, I would say. Now, I am very aware that this was developed to be drank neat, in a mixer or in a cocktail, and I'm not a cocktail guy, but I'm guessing this has just the right amount of everything to be used in a cocktail without it being overpowering. There's a nice sweetness and subtlety to it. So, cocktail, yes. Neat, maybe not so much for my palate. Now, I tend to typically stand more towards single grains, single malts, and pot stills. I don't normally drink blends, but if you like blends, then I would say give this a shot. This does beat out a lot of blends that I've had around this price point in recent time. It's not fair to say who, but if you just look at a couple of my previous videos, there's a couple of blends in and around this price point now that this does tackle fairly well and gives more to the whiskey drinker. Certainly, I will give it that. Now, what this is lacking for me as a neat whiskey drinker is a little bit more complexity and body. I call it robustness or boldness. I said this already. I prefer that when it comes to whiskeys, but in saying that, I'm looking forward to trying the other series in the lineup that they will have coming. They put a lot of work in here. They have put a lot of work in here. You can tell that's certainly something to watch out for. You know, that's a high quality blend, I would say. I do just want to say a special thanks to Fionn in New Era Spirits who reached out and sent me this bottle. It is much appreciated. For the viewer, as always, all thoughts are my own. I'm not influenced by outside parties. Cheers to Christy's for the backdrop, a bunch of legends that they are. And of course, folks, I'll be back next week for more awesome whiskey chats. And we will talk then. Sláinte.